Toronto's condo market is probably going to get worse before it gets better, but today I really want to talk about assignment sellers. Condo flippers are getting absolutely slaughtered right now. The picture is not pretty. Let's get into the worst one that I have seen so far. So this is a one-bedroom, 535 square feet on Church Street near Moss Park, okay, Church and Dundas. It was purchased. These guys paid over $1 million for it. It's a one-bedroom. It works out to nearly $2,000 a square foot. And they are asking $999,000. Now, assuming that they can actually get that price, they can't, and we'll get into that. They would lose about $87,000, including real estate commissions. So as it's currently listed, they stand to lose roughly half their deposits, but I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to lose all of their deposits. So let's get into why. Now let's get our bearings here. So 252 Church is over here on Church. So at Church and Dundas, here it is, right here. Okay. What's interesting about this building is there's a great comparable just over here. Right here, we have Garden District condos. It's not on our model because it's completing soon. So there's no point building it because it'll be there. Anyways, doesn't matter. Point is, it's completing soon. Assignments are actively trading there. And a friend of mine, Tal, just bought one literally the other day. So we're going to use that as our point of comparison. So the unit that he bought is 696 square feet. Okay. It's a 2-bedroom corner unit. So it's considerably larger. Back in 2018, the original purchaser of this unit would have paid about $650,000 for this unit. Not a bad deal. What did my friend purchase this unit for just the other day? Well, he got it for $600,000, which is actually a really good deal. But regardless, he got it for $600K, which works out to $862 a square foot. A very far cry from, the $1,800 a square foot they're asking for. It's about half the price on a per square foot basis anyways. Now, the good news for our other assignment selling friends out there is that this price won't actually be recorded anywhere publicly. And that's why I like to call the assignment market sort of the dark web of real estate. There's really no transaction history, so nobody will see this. Most importantly, appraisers and resale buyers won't see this price. And so what appraisers and resale buyers use as their basis for value is, of course, the resale market. So there's a building by Menkes nearby called Fleur Condos. And if we look at what's on the market there now for sort of a 500 to 599 square foot unit, you've got this one here on the 21st floor, 525 square feet, 1 in den, 1 bath, 48 days on market without selling for $600,000. Again, these guys are listed at $1 million for a comparable unit. Now, given what we've looked at, it would be safe to say market value for this unit is somewhere around 600, right? It is on a higher floor and maybe somebody really wants to be in this building, location, whatever the case is, you might get up to 700 on the assignment market if you're really lucky, just because it looks like a really good deal because you're bleeding so much. But regardless, even if you get 700 grand for this unit, your loss on this unit after commissions and loss obviously is $386,000, all the way up to nearly $500,000 if you get only $600,000, which is ultimately what I think the unit is probably actually worth, somewhere in the low mid sixes, that kind of range. Now, again, this is the worst example I've seen. This is not a typical assignment unit. Most people are in much better shape than this, but if you look at the history for this particular unit, so the 535 square foot unit at 252 Church, you can see that most people would not have paid over $1 million. They'd be in the mid eights. So they'd still be underwater, but they wouldn't be underwater in the same way that this individual is. Now, if you're looking to sell an assignment or you're looking to buy a good deal on the assignment market, we specialize heavily in this area. You can book a consult call at precondo.ca/assignment-consult. Now let's look at some more sort of typical assignments. So here's one at Jack Condos. If you're not familiar with Jack, it is up at Allen Gardens. So here you go. You have Jack right here up at Allen Gardens. You got 252 Church and all of these units, lots of units coming near Moss Park. Allen Gardens or Moss Park, what's your favorite park? I don't know. They're both so lovely. They're both they both feel like High Park, really, when you think about it. Anyway, so we have this one here, 566 square foot. Original purchase price $720,000, asking $670,000. So a considerable loss on their deposit, less of course real estate commissions. Ultimately, they probably won't get that price. They'll probably get south of $650,000. So losing most of their deposits in this case. Wanted to show you this one because of the way it's marketed. Look, I get it. Nothing against the listing agents. You got to do anything you can to try to attract people, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of funny. So $125,000 off a 1-bedroom in downtown Toronto. It's like a Canadian Tire door crasher, right? the seller is giving up all of her deposits. So complete deposit wipe in this case. So you get 125 grand for free. I mean, you'd be silly not to purchase this. It's a free 100, who doesn't like free money? Then we have this one at Theater District. So Theater District is in, well, it's in the Entertainment District right here. So it's right in the heart of the Entertainment District. Here's Theater District. Of course, over here, you've got Forma condos, which pre-sold north of 1,900 bucks a square foot. And of course, you have Bjark Ingels, King Toronto just over here. So great location, but unfortunately for our assignment sellers, it is also a heavy inventory location. So the Entertainment District has seen over 4,000 units come to market or come to occupancy this year. So rents are hurting, prices are hurting. But anyways, this particular unit, 676 square foot, 2-bedroom. It's not a proper 2-bedroom though. I call these like fake 2-bedrooms because you've got the frosted glass here to let in natural light. But anyways, a small 2-bedroom, they paid $1 million and they are asking $950,000. And of course, you've got this little thing here. We're desperate, must sell. Unfortunately, at this price, I don't think it will. So right nearby in the Entertainment District, we of course have Nobu, okay? You can go look at what's for sale at Nobu. So we're looking for a small 2-bedroom, 600 to 699 square feet, 765,000. Again, you have another one, 800,000. So they're at least $150,000 above the mark, right? At the end of the day, price is the primary motivator, especially on the assignment market. People are looking for good deals, and there's lots of good deals to be had. You are essentially competing against hordes of desperate assignment sellers, people who bought units that they cannot afford to close on, right? So they cannot afford to close, and they're worried about getting sued by the developer. So it's a race to the bottom. There's more assignment inventory than there's ever been. And at the same time, there's more resale condos on the market than there's been in like a decade. So you're competing against not just assignment sellers, but you're also competing against the resale market. So your unit has to be better priced than those two alternative options in order to move. And the truth is, when people come to me and they say, hey, there's no buyers out there, these guys can't find a buyer. Listen, there's always a buyer. It's exclusively a question of price. Provided you can get in front of the eyeballs, it's just a question of price, right? You may not like that price. In fact, in many cases, as an assignment seller, you're going to hate that price, but that is the reality. So far, appraisals are coming in. So generally speaking, on newly completed condo buildings, you're seeing appraisals come in at original purchase price, and that is sort of the glue that is holding the market together, in my opinion. If that stops happening, then we'll be in real trouble. But for the time, it is happening, and as long as appraisals come in, people can generally close on their units. Not all of them. There is a segment of the market that does have to sell their units on assignment, and they're the ones who ultimately set the price floor. So if you're someone who wants to sell your assignment because life changed in between, when you purchased 5 years ago and building completion today, or if unfortunately you're somebody who purchased and can no longer afford it, like you purchased it as a unit for yourself to move into, life changed during COVID, maybe you left the country, maybe you lost your job, and so now you need to assign that thing. While I have sympathy for that sort of specific scenario, it doesn't really matter. The unfortunate reality is you're competing against people who bought these things with the sole intention to flip them on HELOCs, and they're desperate. And so that's what you have to compete with. That's just the harsh reality. And I know it might seem like I'm kind of joking in this video, but the reality is for the people who did buy things that they couldn't afford to close. Look, I've been very transparent about, since 2017, you can go back to old videos where I basically say, hey, look, don't buy to assignment flip. And if you are going to buy to assignment flip, be in a position to close if push comes to shove. I've always said basically you should be in the market for a 10-year period plus, right? If you're buying pre-construction, you should be looking at it as sort of a 10-year hold at minimum. And while the assignment market is, like I said, literally the dark web of real estate, it's impossible to get any quantifiable data because nobody records this stuff. What I did look at was our CRM, and I've showed this chart before, but basically you can see that the interest in assignment flipping really took off in 2020 onwards. And part of the reason for that, I think, is essentially because it was so profitable for anybody who sold an assignment around 2020, 2019, 2018, around that period. And so those stories of people making hundreds of thousands of dollars without closing on a condo sort of propagated through the market, family, friends, and most importantly to realtors, who then passed along that advice and those anecdotes to clients, so on and so forth. And so many people, it's like NFTs, right? A bunch of people got interested in this thing out of nowhere, which is obviously a gamble and obviously a risk. And even if they didn't realize it at the time, they took that gamble, and the risk played, right? The chips did not fall in their favor, and now they're going to have to learn an expensive lesson. So you can see it here, right? People who bought, 2015, 2014 purchases, and then they closed 4 or 5 years after that, their condo values in some cases doubled. And so people in those positions did assignment sell, did make hundreds of thousands of dollars, never took a mortgage, never took a tenant. And of course, then a lot of other people wanted to do the same thing. But yeah, basically the way I see it is we are sheltered from a lot of pain because of appraisals coming in. And if that stops happening, that's when we're in a real pickle. And whether that stops happening or not, or at what point, who knows? And the reason I say that is basically this. You look at resale condo price per square foot in King West. You can see that 2020, we were at $10.29 a square foot. Today we're at $10.29 a square foot. So zero nominal change. But if you go back to 2018 at $9.45 a foot versus today's $10.29, and you were to adjust this for inflation, I didn't do it because I'm lazy, but I would imagine that there's probably no real change in prices from 2018 through 2024. So really take that in for a second. Like resale condo prices in King West unchanged from 2018 through 2024. But of course, that's a whole building cycle. And people who bought in 2020 through 2022 paid way more than $1,000 a square foot for their pre-constructions that are coming up for closing, 25, 26, 27, so on and so forth. And that's when, again, if appraisals don't come in, do you think the average pre-construction purchaser has 200 grand for those shortfalls? I don't think they do. Now that I've delivered a bunch of bearish bad news, let me put my bull cap on for a minute here and deliver some positivity, or at least try to. So we have a lot of completions scheduled for this year, almost 40,000 units. I don't think that'll play out, probably be something more like 30 to 35, but those that are delayed are just pushed into next year. So essentially what I'm getting at here is we have 2024 and 2025 that are really strong completion years, and 2026, which isn't a slouch either. But after that, completions or projected completions for new housing supply fall precipitously. We're already seeing it in the low-rise market where single-family completions are starting to crash as a function of just because nobody's buying them. In order to complete a home, you first have to sell it, and pre-sales aren't happening. The only people really buying pre-construction condos right now are end users, people who are buying a unit for themselves to downsize or upsize into, or whatever the case is. Those are really the only active people in the pre-construction market. And that's important because end users historically only make up maybe 20 to 30% of the pre-construction buying pool. The rest are investors, because obviously end users generally don't want to wait 4, 5, 6 years for their unit to complete. And so they're more active in the resale market. And so because nobody's buying pre-construction condos as an investment, well, that just means that we're going to complete far fewer in the future. So you can imagine if we sustain our level of population growth or anything even remotely close to it, we have a real supply issue 4 or 5 years in the future, but that doesn't help us today. So people who are hoping for, a rate cut, I can get my assignment, sold, you might be hoping for something to turn around a lot quicker than it's going to in reality. And of course, while we have new sales crashing and so, supply dwindling in the future, we are also continually growing, fastest growing city, major metro in North America. If you look at I think it's 5 of the last 6 years, or maybe it's 4 of the last 5 years. I don't remember. But one of those, we've been the fastest growing city for 4 or 5 of those years. You can see that in 2023, the Toronto area grew. And by the way, this is net, right? So this is accounting for outflows. This is in versus out. We grew by 221,000 people. To put that in perspective, you need about 100,000 condo completions to effectively house those people, assuming 2 person per household in a condo unit, which is historically, from the census anyways, the norm. But regardless, so you have population growth through the roof at the same time as pre-sales absolutely crashing. And again, this all makes for a great bull case and a great story for 3, 4 years from now, but it doesn't help us in the short term. In the short term, the assignment market is remarkably bloody. And if you need to sell your unit, like I get a lot of people who come to me and they're like, well, I'm not going to sell at a loss. And I'm like, well, can you afford to close on the unit then? If you refuse to sell at a loss, I assume you have the cash or you can qualify for the mortgage. You're going to close on this thing. You're going to bleed negative cash flow, $1,000 a month and wait it out. And that's beautiful. And then they'll tell me, well, no, I can't afford to close on it. And it's like, well, I don't really know what you expect me to tell you. you're going to have to lose money on this thing to sell it. That's the only way this plays out. Everyone else in the assignment market is out there marketing, I'm giving you my full deposits, and you think we're going to come in there and list at original price plus 10% profits, and people are even going to give us a second look? Like, I'm not some marketing genius that can make people want to pay more for something and nobody else is. So I don't really know what you're looking for. Anyways, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Would love to know where you think we go from here. I will see you guys next video.